You know, at one point in my life, I was forced to ask myself a question, long before I became a priest, but it was this. On a day-to-day basis, on a practical basis, what difference does my faith make in my life? What difference does it really make? Other than the fact that I go to church on Sunday, or I'd say the odd prayer, like what difference does it really make to my whole entire attitude towards life? Like, do I see my faith as a way of life? Because I heard someone once say that there's a lot of believers are like practical atheists. On the one hand, they say, I believe in God, but when you actually look at how the person lives their life, it's actually not any different from the person who says they don't believe in God. In fact, sometimes, and we all know it, there's people who say, I'm an atheist, and they might live better lives than people who say they believe, right? Do you know people who are like that? And it's kind of embarrassing. Well, it's not that it's embarrassing. I mean, we don't believe that you have to believe in God to be good, but we should really, there should be a sense that our faith makes some kind of a difference. And you'll see up there, stewardship, a way of life, and that's what I want to talk to you about. It's about a practical way to live life, and it's related to what Steve spoke about tonight, that it begins with a sense of gratitude to knowing that we're not self-made. You know, we can say, well, I worked hard, and I saved up, and I did that, and I got a good mark on that exam because I worked so hard. But, who sent you to that school? Did you choose the parents you were born to? Did you choose which country you were born into? We take so much for granted, right? So to know that everything we have is a gift. And if someone gives you a lot of gifts, and we realize that we've received so much, it's a very natural thing to want to give back, right? To give back. In a sense, that's what stewardship is about. It's recognizing that the stuff we have is not actually ours. Can anyone tell me the definition of a steward? What a steward is? Maybe some of the students? What's the difference between being a steward and being an owner?
Oh, well, what I know is that a steward is part of people that serve you on the plane.
Okay, a steward. Okay, that's just to do with serving. Okay, any Lord of the Rings fans? Okay, there was a king of Rohan and a what of Gondor? Steward. Why was he the steward? Because he wasn't the king. But what's the difference between what was the role of the steward? Yeah, exactly, just looking after the place. You're looking after it. You don't own it. Although his problem was that he eventually thought he owned it, right? Aragorn was coming, the real king, right? To kick some orc touche, right? Okay, so the whole point, if you're a steward, it's not your stuff. You're just looking after it. And that goes with everything that we own, everything that we have, everything that we've received, our education, our health, our bodies, our families, everything, our time. God has given it all to us and says, here, look after it, look after it. And all you have to do is just give me a little bit back. Sound like a good deal? So if I gave you $100, and I said, look, I'm going to give you this $100. I'm actually not, sorry, but I'm going to give this $100, and the only condition is that I want you to give away a part of it, say 10%, okay? You give away 10%. I mean, sound like a good deal? $300, all you have to do is give away 10%? Yeah. Would anyone refuse? No. And so we would take that, and we would give it away, and hey, you get to keep 90%. Sounds like a good deal. But see, so often in life, you guys were eating all that gross food. I'm going to eat a little mini banana. So often in life, we're like, oh God, thanks so much. Look at this wonderful thing that I received from the Lord for free. It's like, great. Do you think I could eat this in one go?
Probably. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't think so. Contrary to popular opinion, I don't have a big mouth. But I think I can get it in 2 bites. I'll be like, thank you, God. You have a very good banana. And I have to give something back, right? It's so good. It's like a good banana. Then it's like, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to give something back to God, aren't I? Here you go. You're supposed to catch it. A little gross. That's kind of gross. Okay, throw it back. But isn't that like Sometimes, isn't that what we give back to God? Like leftovers. Once we've received everything that's been given to us, we give back leftovers. And this was what I was like for a lot of my life. I gave God leftovers. It's not that I was against giving. I thought that was a great thing. It's a good thing to give. It wasn't that I was against helping people or serving or volunteering. Good thing, don't get me wrong. But it wasn't a priority to me. It was if I had time left over, I would do it. If I had money left over, I would give a little tiny bit. And when I actually looked at what I gave away compared to what I received, it was like embarrassing. It didn't even come close to 10%. It wasn't even 1%, right? Think of this. You go out for supper with a friend. We've been talking about pizza tonight, and Sunday night's usually my pizza night. After I leave here, I go home and order pizza. King of Donair, best pizza. Imagine going out for a pizza with your friend, and your friend says, "Pizza's on me." You say, "Great." You order a pizza, and I sit there and I eat it, and because I want to eat the whole thing, I don't eat the crust because I want to keep room, so I can eat the whole pizza. You ever do that? No. And I just throw the crust back in the pizza box, and then I realize at the end that my friend who bought the pizza didn't even eat anything. I've eaten the whole thing. It's like, oh, well, here, you can have the leftovers. Sometimes we're like that with God. We give God leftovers. And the whole point of stewardship is that everything is a gift. Everything is a gift from God. We do not own anything. It's been given to us to look after, to be stewards. We're not kings of our lives. We're stewards of our lives. And we're called to give something back. But rather than give back at the end out of what's left over, the point of stewardship is the first thing you give back is off the top, is from the very beginning. But that's a very difficult thing to do. Say, for instance, volunteering. Either volunteering in the church or volunteer at the hospital or in the community. And I know that for many of you in your high school projects, you have to do some volunteer time. But even think about that. The whole notion of you have to volunteer X amount of hours of your week in order to graduate, it kind of defeats the purpose of it, isn't it? It's like, I say, Lord, you've given me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You call me to worship you on one of those days. Like, one of those days belongs to you. Sunday belongs to you. And I've got 6 whole other days. And I'm still called to help other people to do something. So if I can say, at the beginning of my week, when I schedule my week, I'm going to take 2 hours of my week. I mean, do the math. 2 hours out of a day is 1/12 times 7. Who can multiply 7 times 12? 1/84 of our week to serve someone else. It's not an awful lot. But we do that off the top. We say, Lord, I want to choose some way that I'm going to serve you, and that's my gift of time. With finances, you know, for the longest time, like what Steve said, when I was a student, when I was in high school, I didn't put anything in the collection. Nothing. Zippo. Not a cent. My parents put it in, right? And then I went into university. Even when I had a job and I was getting paid, I didn't put anything in the collection. I would pass by, put nothing in. Even when I became a seminarian, I didn't put anything in the collection. I figured, hey, I'm giving my life to this crowd. I don't need to put, I didn't exactly go into the priesthood for the money, so I'm not putting any of the little bit of money I've got in. I can't afford it. And it was when I was a newly ordained priest, and the priest I was with gave me a box of envelopes, you know, the envelopes, and I'd never used envelopes before, and I said, what do you want me to do with these? He said, use them. Use them. So I started using them, and I'm embarrassed to tell you, I started putting in $5 a week, $5. And I put in $5. Now this was after I got a job, right? I'm not saying you got to put in $5. But it was after about a year or so I realized I was putting in from my leftovers. You know, I was putting in what was left over, rather than starting from the very beginning. And since that time, that was about 12 years ago, and now, the first thing I do in the course of a month, what I put in, because I put in the collection every week, what I put in has really increased, but the first thing I do before I pay my other bills, before I pay my insurance and my